Understanding Adult ADHD. My Journey from Confusion to Clarity. Singapore. Imagine waking up one day, only to discover that the chaos in your life has a name: Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder, ADHD. That was my reality in early 2025. At first, I felt a wave of relief wash over me. Finally, I had an explanation for the whirlwind of challenges that had been my constant companions. You know that feeling of always being in a rush, like you're perpetually late for an appointment? Or the struggle to sit still, as if your body is in a constant state of rebellion? I often found myself taking half an hour just to leave the house, frantically searching for my keys or wallet, only to realize I'd misplaced them yet again. And let's not forget those late-night work sessions, where I'd burn the midnight oil, fueled by deadlines, only to wake up with dark circles under my eyes. But after the initial relief came a wave of anger. Why did it take so long for me to get this diagnosis? My psychiatrist pointed out that the signs were extremely obvious. Yet, in Singapore, awareness and understanding of ADHD are still in their infancy, leaving many like me in the dark for far too long. Reflecting on my school years, I can't help but see my past through a new lens. My secondary 3 report card labeled my conduct as poor, with grades that ranged from F9S to D7S, largely due to my frequent absences and truancy. At just 14, I would often skip class, taking the MRT far beyond my school's stop just to avoid being there. I vividly remember my form teacher chastising me, calling my truancy a disgrace to my parents' hard work. Conversations with the school counselor revolved around the stress I was causing my family, rather than exploring how my neurodivergence shaped my school experience. A child psychiatrist I consulted diagnosed me with depression and prescribed antidepressants, completely missing the underlying issue. The confusion stemmed from the fact that, during much of my primary and early secondary schooling, I was seen as a good student, because I devoured books, under the table, while zoning out in class. By the end of secondary 3, I had stopped attending school altogether, opting for homeschooling, which involved a costly series of one-on-one tutors. I eventually took my O-levels as a private candidate. Leaving school as a teenager was a traumatic experience, forcing me into uncharted territory, away from my friends, and resulting in a significant weight loss of 10 kilograms over the year. Fortunately, my relationship with education improved when I embraced hands-on learning in Polytechnic, ultimately achieving straight A's in university. However, the scars of my past left me with a deep-seated distrust of mental health professionals, which is why I only sought help for my ADHD symptoms at the age of 29. In Singapore, ADHD is not just about the executive dysfunction and attention challenges. It's also about the shame and indifference faced by those whose learning styles don't fit the mold. As an adult, I often hear people say I don't seem neurodivergent because I'm so productive. But beneath the surface, I long to sit still and work steadily, like what society deems as normal. Globally, studies estimate that ADHD affects about 5 to 8% of the population. As a journalist, I frequently meet individuals with stories similar to mine: troubled educational paths, burnout in their careers, and a life-altering diagnosis. In an article I wrote about school dropouts, I found that 4 out of 5 individuals I interviewed discovered their ADHD only after leaving the formal education system. Take Mr. Dominic Nodison, a 32-year-old personal trainer, who was often told he was smart but doesn't apply himself. He dropped out in secondary 3 due to truancy and disciplinary issues, only to be diagnosed with ADHD in his late 20s. He described it as having pent-up energy that masked itself as depression. This newfound understanding led him to a fulfilling career change, allowing him more autonomy over his time. Then there's Mr. Joe Law, who dropped out 7 times before finally making it to university. Now a 27-year-old law student in Melbourne, he felt a mix of relief, grief, and anger upon receiving his ADHD diagnosis at 20. He lamented the lost potential and moments of his youth, feeling anger towards those who labeled him a bad student for behaviors that were clearly linked to ADHD. For some, the realization comes even later. Ms. Moonlake Lee, who founded the nonprofit Unlocking ADHD, was diagnosed at 50 after reaching a breaking point while juggling parenting and caregiving responsibilities. Her diagnosis came a year after her daughter's, and she initially struggled to process it, feeling invalidated by the incredulity of those around her. She emphasizes the need for greater awareness of the full spectrum of ADHD, as society often labels individuals as lazy or unmotivated without understanding their struggles. In Singapore, the complex relationship with mental health means that self-image is often tied to productivity, exacerbated by academic pressure and a poor work-life balance. It's one of the few places where employees are expected to provide medical certificates to prove they're genuinely ill, reflecting a deep-seated suspicion of malingering. While ADHD has become a buzzword online, it's often trivialized, leading to a dismissive attitude towards neurodivergence and mental health struggles. In a Telegram group, half of over 2,000 users responded yes to the question. Do you consider people who constantly mention mental health issues pick-me? A derogatory term for those seeking attention. Despite these challenges, my encounters with others like me have been transformative. Speaking with fellow dropouts helped me shed my reluctance to understand myself better. Being aware of how my brain works differently has empowered me to actively find ways to mitigate my challenges and leverage my strengths. Medication has been beneficial, but so has decluttering my environment, using lists, and seeking understanding of my learning differences. If my story resonates with you, I encourage you to explore resources like the Unlocking ADHD community or consult a mental health professional about your concerns. No matter when you seek help, it could be the key to understanding why you experience the world in a unique way. Hear Me Out is a news series where young journalists share their personal journeys on topics ranging from friendships to self-acceptance, and everything in between.